And from the Pro Football Hall of Fame class of 2000, the great defensive lineman, 13 seasons with the Raiders, 8 Pro Bowls, and now, of course, a broadcaster for Fox Sports and their excellent pregame show. The one, the only, Howie Long joins us on Pro Football Hall of Fame. Howie, thanks for being with us today, man. How you doing?
Pleasure. How's everybody doing?
I was thinking before you came on, I said, probably while Kyle was in school, kids used to say, that's Howie Long's kid. Now they're saying, oh, look, there's Howie Long. He's Kyle's father.
Or Chris's dad, yeah.
Or Chris's dad. Yeah, I mean, go right down the list. It's got to be a real good feeling for you to have such a successful trio of sons. But tell me a little bit about, James and I were kind of debating this a little bit a few minutes ago about, when you went to the Super Bowl, obviously you had a great feeling. You win a Super Bowl. How special is it now to watch your son in a Super Bowl? Is it more meaningful watching your son do this for a second time, actually, or was your own trip that much more special?
Oh, I think James will second, my feelings on this. I mean, I think anytime your children are having success, I think you enjoy those moments so much more than the moments as a player. For me, playing was always somewhat of a tortured kind of endeavor because I was never happy, and it was always about the next day. It wasn't about reflecting on yesterday, and it didn't seem to matter if I had played great on Sunday. I had to be great on Wednesday. And I said it, I think, in my induction that, I just never really enjoyed my career until it was over and I had a chance to kind of reflect on it, and to have the opportunity to watch, 2 of our sons, and one of our sons is in the Raider organization, and, Kyle's with the Bears, and Chris now going to his second Super Bowl. And I did get the opportunity last year to be at the AFC Championship game. As a matter of fact, I watched it at a hotel in I think I was, I don't know where I was, but to be at the game and, have the family there. Kyle was there. Howie was starting a new job, so he couldn't come. But Diane, Meg, and Waylon, and to watch that all kind of unfold and to be there covering it was a real treat. And now going to the Super Bowl this week and watching your son after 8 years in St. Louis, and listen, he had a great experience, in terms of teammates and, the city of St. Louis and everything else. But when you're winning 3 games a year, I ran out of, Newt Rockne speeches on Sunday nights. It'll be better next week. It'll be better next year, and it just never got better. And you like to think that good things happen to good people. And as we know, that's not always the case. But to me, and I'm partial, but I don't think anyone is more deserving of having the opportunity to go to 2 Super Bowls in a row. It's pretty amazing.
Howie,
go ahead,
Howie, I'm curious, and this is kind of away from football, but as these boys are growing up, you guys are in the backyard and you're playing basketball. Who thinks that they're Steph Curry? Who thinks that they're Michael Jordan? What's going on with them at that age when they're younger?
Well, Kyle was always, and I said this to Diane. Diane thought I was crazy. He was a year and a half and running around the house, and I said, he's different. he's different, which he is. I mean, there's just not a lot of people like that, Chris is such a self-made guy. I remember, they're all different. As you know, anyone who has multiple kids, they're all different. And Chris was always kind of an old soul from a young age, and that, I think, is reflected in his off the field generosity and his philosophy of life, and wanting to make an impact on not just the community he lives in, but around the world, and it's pretty remarkable. But Kyle was the guy who was in center field picking daisies. I mean, and Chris was always kind of a serious go guy. Maybe the last guy picked as a 9-year-old in Little League, and he started out in high school football. He said, "I want to play Division I football," and his mom and I were both kind of like, geez, I don't know.
Yeah.
And he ends up going to Virginia, and he's an All-American. He's drafted number 2, and career started out a little slow, but just picked it up and became and it's kind of like if a tree falls in the woods and no one's there to hear it, does it make a sound? That was his career for 3-4 years when he was great in St. Louis. With like 30-plus sacks in 3 years, and unfortunately didn't make the Pro Bowl one year that he probably should have. It was an alternate a couple times. But to have the opportunity to then go to New England and play for a guy like Bill Belichick and be a part of, that kind of an organization and that kind of commitment, gave him the opportunity to play the kind of football that James, you and I were used to playing, that he never had the opportunity to do in St. Louis.
Right.
And then, makes the decision that, what, New England was great, appreciate it, had some great relationships there, and he's in constant communication with people there, but wanted to go someplace that was more fitting for his playing style, and wanted to be a left defensive end, and took a chance on Philadelphia, and the rest is history.
How you mentioned the off the field, and I was going to ask about that in terms of how proud you are of that, and what's signature about it too. I think is not just not just being involved, but choosing what he's become involved in, and then the uniqueness this year. And we don't want to get into a discussion about the differences of what people had with everything, but being involved in the initiative of all the guys with what's going on. When
right.
He's unique in that, in terms of with a lot of his with his black friends, So
right.
just your overall thought on all of that and his involvement and what he's chosen to be involved in.
Well, I think Chris, I think it's interesting, and this is more of it's a longer conversation, but I think, and James will probably once again echo my thoughts on this, but at certain points in my career, I was the only white guy in the room on defense. So I think if you're a white player in the NFL, and it was certainly the case when I played, and it's probably more so the case now for Chris. It gives you an opportunity to have a perspective that most white Americans don't have, because you're hearing stories about people's backgrounds and their experiences and what it's like, growing up as an African American, and whether it's in the South or out West or in the Northeast, whatever the case may be, and getting that perspective, I think is. It was good for me. It's been great for Kyle and Chris both, and I think because of that, he understands and appreciates some of the inequality of just day-to-day life, and wants to impact that, and for all people. And I think it's not just here in the country, and with the initiative and trying to find solutions for that situation. But, he climbed Kilimanjaro a number of years back, and just I think the climbing the mountain was kind of a metaphor for, I think, Chris's life, where it's, what's the next mountain? And then tied that in with, military veterans and wanting to climb with them, and then having a kind of an appreciation for just the sickness that fills that area in Tanzania, due to waterborne illness and death and illness, and the death rate for children is frighteningly astronomical. And wanting to make a difference and started building solar wells, and I think this year they're going to build their 32nd well there. Hey, listen, and I said this many times, I think how your children are brought up. I mean, we had a very open home. Chester lived with us. I'm talking to James. Chester lived with us for a period of time. Sean Jones lived with us for a period of time. Sean is Kyle's godfather. So our kids were brought up in a very open household and were exposed to a lot of different people. And I think you try to live a life as parents that hopefully inspires your kids, but you're trying to teach them, and you're trying to be a positive role model, and hopefully they want to emulate you. But if you're really, really fortunate, it comes full circle, and your kid ends up inspiring you, teaching you, and being the role model that says to you every day, "Hey, what are you doing to make a difference?"
Yeah, that's
unique. Outside of the football, which is great.
Right.
Don't get me wrong. This guy is, he's different. He really is.
Well, Howie, though, we say that a lot on this show, but a lot of what he learned living in your household, but also from the game of football, you learn about these things that are life skills that transfer into your everyday life. So.
No question.
Quick answer, Howie, please. Well, I guess that was the answer.
No, what was the question?
No, there was no question. I think Howard was just saying we have to go, but I think the obviously we're just trying to reaffirm what we already know, and that is that the game teaches a lot of life skills.
Yes, no question. The NFL and football, and I'm preaching to the choir here on the call, but I'm just a big believer, and the best of it brings out, I think, and gives an experience that benefits people for the rest of their lives. No doubt. I've always believed that.
Thanks so much for your time, Howie. Enjoy Super Bowl 52.
James, will I see? Thank you, guys. James, will I see you in Minneapolis?
Yes, hopefully at the Merlin Olsen luncheon.
Yeah, bring something warm.
I know.
Definitely.
Know.
Thanks, man. Take care. Good talking to you. Howie Long, the great gold jacket.